Kevin Stefanski has seen enough broken promises at quarterback to last a lifetime. So when the Cleveland Browns head coach publicly commended SHEDEUR Sanders' rapid development and leadership inside the QB room, it sent a message. This wasn't lip service. It was a rare moment of trust from a coach scarred by years of misfires. Sanders has earned it the hard way, not with viral clips or headline hype.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
But with consistent execution, deep film study, and day-to-day command that's shifted how the team approaches the position. Stefanski's endorsement isn't just praise. It's a signal that the franchise may finally be done gambling. What's unfolding in Cleveland is a pivot from dysfunction to alignment. By reshaping their offense around Sanders' strengths, the Browns are making an investment, not a bet. It's a stark contrast to Colorado, where Coach Prime is moving urgently to rebuild what SHEDEUR left behind. In both places, success is no longer about talent alone. It's about building systems where that talent can thrive. And in Sanders, the Browns believe they've found a quarterback mature enough to anchor one. Something is shifting in Cleveland, and for once it's not chaos. The franchise that spent 2 decades cycling through quarterbacks like disposable razors might have finally found something real in SHEDEUR Sanders. Not hype, not potential, but performance, day in, day out. According to a respected Browns insider, SHEDEUR isn't just holding his own. He's outperforming every quarterback the team has evaluated in recent years. That includes draft picks, trade experiments, and short-lived fixes that were anything but. For a franchise that's practically built its identity on quarterback disappointment, this is no small moment. This is a pivot. And it's not about flash. It's not about name recognition. It's about what's happening behind closed doors, in the film room, in the huddle, in the locker room. SHEDEUR is earning trust the way it's supposed to be earned, in reps, in leadership, in consistency. His breakout moment came during a preseason game against the Steelers, where things could have easily unraveled. The offensive line wasn't holding up. The pressure was coming fast and often. Most young quarterbacks would have panicked. He didn't. He stayed composed, made smart reads, protected the ball, ran the offense with control. It wasn't a stat-padding performance. It was a proving ground. And that one game changed the tone inside the building. Coaches started paying closer attention to what he was doing in meetings. How he prepared, how he built chemistry with his receivers. Front office staff began re-evaluating their depth chart, not based on contracts, not based on history, but based on who was executing. SHEDEUR kept rising. Kevin Stefanski, who has made a career out of keeping quarterback praise close to the chest, broke pattern. He acknowledged SHEDEUR's rapid development and maturity. Publicly. That matters, especially from a coach who's seen too many next guys flame out in record time. Stefanski didn't say Sanders was the starter, but he didn't say he wasn't either. And in Cleveland, that's as loud as it gets. The team isn't just experimenting anymore. They're making deliberate changes to support what's working. That means SHEDEUR is getting more first-team reps. Offensive schemes are being tweaked to match his strengths. The Browns aren't plugging him into a rigid system. They're reshaping the system around him. That's a massive departure from how they've operated in the past. For years, it felt like every quarterback Cleveland brought in had to conform to some abstract ideal of what the franchise QB should look like. And when they didn't measure up, when they struggled under pressure or failed to gel with the offense, they were quickly cycled out. That rinse and repeat mentality created instability. No one could develop. No one could lead. But with SHEDEUR, the evaluation isn't built on speculation. It's built on what he's already done, what he continues to do. The Browns aren't waiting for some light bulb to go off. They see it already lit. And as SHEDEUR quietly builds momentum in Cleveland, back in Boulder, Coach Prime is building something else entirely. Colorado was flashy last season. Lots of headlines. Lots of buzz. And yes, some real moments of brilliance. But when the dust settled, one thing was obvious. They weren't built to last. Not in the trenches. The offensive and defensive lines were outmatched, and that exposed even the team's brightest star. Coach Prime got the message loud and clear. This offseason, he's not just recruiting, he's restructuring, prioritizing the transfer portal, bringing in experienced linemen and defensive players who can deliver immediately. The plan is clear. If you want elite quarterback play to matter, you have to protect it. You have to support it with physicality. Colorado's rebuild isn't about one player. It's about system-wide durability. Because Prime understands that the game has changed. In the nil era, with shortened competitive windows and an ever-churning portal, you don't get to wait for 4-year development arcs. You either build fast or get left behind. So that's what he's doing. Fast, smart, and strategic. It's a philosophy that actually mirrors what's happening in Cleveland. Two very different levels of football, same core truth. At both ends, it's not about betting on a single spark of talent and hoping for miracles. It's about building systems where that talent doesn't have to carry everything. SHEDEUR can be great, but he needs protection. He needs a rhythm that suits his decision-making. He needs a locker room that rallies, not fractures. That's what the Browns are starting to understand. By increasing his workload and modifying the offense to suit his skill set, they're making a statement. This is no longer an audition. This is a shift. Sanders isn't just in the mix. He might already be leading it. And it's a noticeable break from the Browns of the past. This is a franchise that once drafted quarterbacks high and threw them into the fire. Sink or swim. And when they sank, on to the next. But now, the process is smarter, more aligned. SHEDEUR is being judged not on draft hype or media narratives, but on execution, on improvement, on command of the room. It's a kind of organizational maturity that's been sorely missing in Cleveland. Coach Prime is showing the same growth in Boulder. Yes, SHEDEUR was a generational college talent, but even he couldn't outrun a defense every week with no protection. Prime knows he can't bank on landing another quarterback like that right away. So he's building from the inside out. Linemen first, defense first. A structure that can elevate whoever comes next. He's not hunting for saviors. He's building a team. Both Sanders, father and son, are proving that the flash only works when it's backed by foundation. You can have the best quarterback in the world, but if the system fails him, it all falls apart. Cleveland is tired of watching quarterbacks implode under bad conditions. Colorado is refusing to let it happen again. It's a parallel journey. Two different landscapes. One message. Success doesn't come from hype. It comes from execution. And in both Cleveland and Boulder, that message is starting to stick. So now the spotlight turns back to the Browns. With SHEDEUR gaining steam, the quarterback picture is no longer murky. It's taking shape. This isn't a placeholder situation. This is a potential starter. Someone who has the locker room's respect, the coaching staff's attention, and the traits to back it all up. If SHEDEUR claims that starting job, it won't just be a personal victory. It'll be a turning point in one of the NFL's longest-running quarterback nightmares. A rare moment where the Browns didn't gamble, they developed. And that says more about the future of the franchise than any off-season headline. Let us know if you think SHEDEUR's the real deal for Cleveland. Do you buy the shift? Is this the end of the carousel? And can Coach Prime's rebuild at Colorado prove that real structure beats hype every time? Drop your thoughts below. Hit like if you're watching both Sanders rewrite the game at 2 levels. And subscribe for more on every twist this story brings next. At this point, it's not just a feel-good story. It's a full-circle narrative. One that starts with SHEDEUR Sanders quietly silencing skeptics in Cleveland and stretches all the way to Boulder, where Coach Prime is reshaping the DNA of his entire program. Let's talk about what this really means. For years, the Cleveland Browns have been a cautionary tale. Quarterback after quarterback, drafted, traded, signed, benched, cut. The turnover at the position was so absurd it practically became a meme. The infamous jersey with a list of failed quarterbacks stretched from Tim Couch to Baker Mayfield to whoever was under center last season. It's been dysfunction on a loop, wrapped in preseason optimism and crushed by midseason despair. But that cycle feels like it's slowing down, maybe even stopping. Because SHEDEUR Sanders isn't just another arm talent. He's not a patch job. He's not a developmental guy you stash on the depth chart and hope for later. He's a quarterback whose consistency is becoming impossible to ignore. Inside the Browns organization, he's outperforming every recent QB prospect they've brought through the system. And he's doing it without the media machine pumping his name. He's earning it through the details. Film sessions, command at the line of scrimmage, on-field decision-making, timing with receivers. Every area where coaches measure trust, he's passing the test. And not just passing, exceeding. And that's what sets this moment apart from every other Cleveland quarterback saga. There's no frantic push to sell hope. There's no marketing campaign inflating a rookie's reputation before he's done anything. SHEDEUR's not being force-fed to the fan base. He's letting his work speak for itself. And inside the building, that work is changing the way the team operates. Because for once, the Browns aren't just evaluating options. They're shaping an identity. They've increased SHEDEUR's first-team reps. They're adjusting offensive schemes to play to his strengths. That's not how you treat a long shot. That's how you treat a front-runner. And Kevin Stefanski, the head coach who has made a career out of keeping his praise measured, is saying things publicly. Things that make it clear this isn't just a feel-good rookie story. He's talking about SHEDEUR's leadership, his growth, his impact on the quarterback room. And for a coach who has been burned by quarterback missteps more times than he can count, that's a big deal. This isn't Stefanski throwing darts. It's Stefanski seeing a path and starting to commit to it. Meanwhile, back in Boulder, the stakes are just as high, but the playbook is completely different. Coach Prime is in full teardown mode. And it's not because things are falling apart. It's because he knows last year's model won't cut it anymore. Colorado was electric at times. The hype was real. The offense had flashes. SHEDEUR put up numbers, made big plays, and showed the country what he could do under pressure. But behind all of that, the foundation was fragile. The offensive line struggled to protect him. The defense couldn't keep pace in the trenches. It was thrilling, but unsustainable. And Prime knew it. That's why this offseason, the spotlight isn't on the skill positions. It's on the lines. The transfer portal is the new recruiting battlefield, and Prime is leading the charge. He's not waiting for high school players to develop over 3 or 4 years. He's bringing in grown men, players with Power 5 experience, size, and technique, to fix the weak spots now. Because the truth is, having a great quarterback is pointless if he's getting sacked every other snap. Prime lived it last season. He saw SHEDEUR take hits he shouldn't have taken. He watched winnable games slip away because protection broke down at the worst possible moment. And if you're building a winning program in 2026, you don't just recruit stars. You build balance. So he's shifting the entire focus of the program to the trenches. Offensive line, defensive front, physical, experienced players who can hold their own on day one. It's not flashy, and it won't dominate headlines the way SHEDEUR did, but it's the kind of football that wins championships. And this is where both stories collide again, because both SHEDEUR and Coach Prime are proving that flash is overrated without structure. You can have a Heisman-level quarterback or a viral recruiting class, but if the culture, the planning, and the execution aren't there, it falls apart. Fast. Back in Cleveland, the Browns have spent too long learning that lesson the hard way. Now, they're starting to internalize it. Instead of pushing a QB into a broken offense, they're building the offense around the quarterback. Instead of shuffling through passers like trading cards, they're looking at SHEDEUR and asking, what do we need to support this guy? It's a total 180 from how this franchise has approached the position for years. Remember when they tried to make Baker Mayfield the face of the franchise before giving him a real infrastructure? Or when they chased short-term fixes like Case Keenum or Jacoby Brissett, hoping they could stabilize the locker room? Those moves weren't about development. They were about desperation. This time, the Browns are being deliberate, patient, strategic. They're recognizing that SHEDEUR Sanders brings more than just potential. He brings credibility. Teammates respect him. Coaches trust him. The front office is responding to him. And that doesn't come from viral clips or college stardom. It comes from showing up day after day and doing the job like a pro. So now, we're looking at a real possibility. SHEDEUR Sanders starting for the Browns. Not as a gimmick. Not as a backup plan. As the plan. And, if that happens, it would mark the end of one of the most bizarre quarterback droughts in league history. The Browns, of all teams, could finally close the book on the chaos and start a new chapter. One built on something that's been missing for far too long. Stability. In Boulder, the rebuild is just as meaningful. Without SHEDEUR, there's no shortcut. There's no safety net. But Coach Prime isn't panicking. He's getting smarter. More focused. He's turning the program from a social media darling into a team that can compete physically, week after week. Because he knows that future stars won't matter if the foundation is shaky. And this is the through line connecting both men. They understand that talent only works when it's paired with execution. That flash only lasts when it's built on something solid. That being the guy means nothing if the team around you can't hold the line. That's why both Cleveland and Colorado are finally moving in the right direction. Not because they've stumbled on the next superstar, but because they've learned what it actually takes to make one succeed. It's not about chance. It's about design. It's about systems, structure, and culture. Execution over excitement. So the next few months, they'll be telling. At some point, you have to stop calling it coincidence. You look at what's happening in Cleveland. You look at what's happening in Boulder. And the pattern is unmistakable. Everywhere the Sanders name goes, change follows. Not chaos. Not noise. Real change, measurable, strategic, and undeniable. And while the NFL world starts quietly whispering that SHEDEUR Sanders might be the best quarterback Cleveland has had in decades, over in Colorado, Coach Prime isn't trying to replicate last season's media frenzy. He's doing the opposite, going quiet, going deep, and building from the inside out. Let's be real. The last time the Browns showed this kind of internal alignment at quarterback. Well, has it ever happened? Because if there's one position that's haunted this team year after year, it's the one under center. From number 1 overall picks that fizzled out, to mid-round shots in the dark, to veteran stopgaps who were never supposed to last, Cleveland's quarterback history has been a graveyard of what-ifs. The franchise was cursed by instability, not because they couldn't find talent, but because they never knew what to do with it. Until now. Because what SHEDEUR Sanders is doing in Cleveland right now isn't just impressive. It's turning heads inside a building that's seen it all. And it's not about one throw, one game, or one headline. It's about day-to-day execution, film study, consistency in practice, quiet leadership, and rising to the moment when things break down. That preseason game against the Steelers didn't just showcase his mechanics or accuracy. It showed control. The offensive line was collapsing. The pass rush was brutal. It was the kind of setting where young quarterbacks get exposed. But SHEDEUR, he kept the offense moving, protected the football, kept his cool. That performance, under real pressure, accelerated everything. Coaches started asking different questions. Not can he hang with the pros, but is he already better than what we've got? And that question has been echoing through the Browns building ever since. Because when you're a franchise that's fumbled the quarterback position for 20 years, finding someone who doesn't just survive in the role, but stabilizes it, that's rare. That's valuable. That's the kind of thing you build around. And that's exactly what they're doing. First team reps? Up. Offensive scheme adjustments? Already in motion. Locker room chemistry? Solid. Leadership from a rookie? Evident. And then Stefanski, the coach who's been through every quarterback disappointment Cleveland has had since 2020, starts going public with praise. Not empty platitudes. Not vague he's progressing comments. Stefanski is naming Sanders as a leader in the room, calling out his development, acknowledging what he brings to the field. That's not just rare, it's calculated. This is a coach who doesn't say things unless he means them, who's been cautious to a fault because he's seen how fast QB hype can blow up in his face. So when he praises SHEDEUR, even subtly, it's a signal. The quarterback room isn't a formality anymore. It's a competition, and SHEDEUR is winning it. But here's the twist. While Sanders climbs in Cleveland, His father is doing something even more radical and bolder. Coach Prime has pulled off one of the hardest pivots in college football. Last year, Colorado had the biggest spotlight in the country. Every week, Prime and SHEDEUR were in headlines, highlight reels, post-game debates. The buzz was everywhere. But the actual roster? Outmatched. Especially in the trenches. The offensive line couldn't protect. The defense couldn't hold the line. SHEDEUR was running for his life, and it became painfully clear. You can't build a team around one elite player. Not in today's game. And Prime didn't wait for the season to end to make adjustments. He made it his mission. The trenches had to be fixed. The roster had to toughen up. So he went after experience. Size. Football IQ. Not in high school gyms. In the portal. He brought in players who've already taken hits in the SEC, Big Ten, and Big 12. Players who don't need 3 years of development. Players who are ready now. It's a shift away from flashy recruiting rankings and into football strategy. Coach Prime knows that to win consistently in this new era, you can't just outscore teams. You have to out-physical them. And that starts up front. He's not replacing SHEDEUR with another flashy quarterback. He's building a structure so that whoever does take snaps won't be set up to fail. Because that's the lesson. At every level, no quarterback, no matter how talented, can thrive in dysfunction. We've seen it across college football. We've seen it in the NFL. The Browns saw it with Baker. Colorado saw it with SHEDEUR. So both programs are evolving. In Cleveland, that means finally slowing down the quarterback carousel and planting real roots with a player who's showing up, putting in the work, and earning respect without demanding the spotlight. In Boulder, it means shifting the program's identity from hype-driven to physically dominant. From highlight plays to sustained drives. From what if to what now. Because the truth is, talent only matters if the system is ready for it. And now, for the first time in a long time, both systems are trending the right way. In Cleveland, SHEDEUR might be the one who finally breaks the cycle. He doesn't need to be a franchise savior. He just needs to be steady. The Browns don't need a superstar. They need a grown-up at quarterback. And that's exactly what he's becoming. And in Colorado, Prime is proving that he's more than a motivator. He's more than a media magnet. He's a builder. He's a strategist. He's not here to go viral. He's here to win. And if both these arcs continue, we're witnessing something rare. One Sanders proving the NFL doesn't have to chew up every young quarterback. The other proving that a college program can reinvent itself in a single offseason without compromising identity. That's the power of execution. That's the power of leadership. And that's what separates hype from longevity. So now it's your move. Do you think SHEDEUR Sanders is the Browns' future under center? Is he the one to finally end the instability? And can Coach Prime's rebuild bring Colorado out of the media bubble and into real contention? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let us know if you're buying into the Sanders blueprint at both levels of the game. Hit that like button if you're ready for this next chapter to unfold. And don't forget to subscribe, because the story, it's just getting started.